welcome her. Her district used to include this area that she represented, and I was visiting many areas where they celebrate Diane Primavera as a folk hero in much of Broomfield. Betsy Markey, the Executive Director of OEDIT, Dr. Angie Piccioni, the Executive Director of Higher Education, where we're really seeing the biggest outbreaks of COVID. We're seeing what works and what doesn't work, and Dr. Piccioni is going to talk a little bit more about that. And we're joined by Representative Shannon Bird, who represents this area in the state legislature, and I want to thank her for joining us. Today we have 605 new positive cases and hospitalized about 147, relatively stable hospitalization. We're at 1,911 Coloradans who've died from COVID. And I want to express our condolences as a state to everybody who has suffered loss. 3 of the last 14 days have had a downward trend, so a slight upward trend. This is mostly, but not entirely, driven by the campus outbreaks, and specifically University of Colorado. So as a state, the picture still looks reasonably good. Our average positivity over the 2-week period is 2.8%. We're at about 82 cases per 100,000. It's a bit higher, 112 cases per 1,000. Positivity is now 5.5. There's not enough testing at to really meet the need, and the testing's available right here in Adams County, not too far from here at Waterworld in Federal Heights. You can go get tested. It's free, it's quick, it's easy. No paperwork. You go in, takes 50 minutes, you get the result within a day or two. Couldn't be more easy. You don't need a doctor's note. You don't need to call ahead. Just show up at Waterworld parking lot. If you have symptoms, very important, or if you think you were somebody, even mild symptoms, could be mild symptoms, could be deadly and require hospitalization for those who you live with or your friends. I want to discuss some of the news coming out of Boulder today. In partnership with Boulder County Health, there's 2 new testing sites in Boulder that are also free, quick, and easy. There's a walk-up site at Pleasant Street parking lot, and a drive-through site at Stasio Ball Fields, where I used to play on a years. They allow up to 2,000 people to be tested per day. Yesterday, 475 came. So it's easy to get tested. You show up and go there, you can get tested. And rather alarmingly, the positivity rate is 16%. So that's the type of positivity rate we see in areas with major outbreaks across the country. While most of this is at the university community, in fact, in Boulder County, 85% of the cases have been 18 to 25-year-olds. What we're going to be watching for over the next week or two is really 2 things. One, are they getting a lid on it with the college population? But even more importantly, is this becoming a community spread across Boulder County to those who are more vulnerable, or is it being successfully contained at the college level? As we look at hospitalizations, hospitalization rate, 18 to 25-year-olds, is about 2 to 5%, okay? People my age, about 10% chance, 1 in 10 cases of COVID are hospitalized. When you get to folks in their 60s, 70s, and 80s, it's closer to a quarter to a third of people who contract COVID have to be hospitalized. So just to see that different trajectory, 19-year-olds, 2%, 72-year-olds, 28% estimate. So major difference. And so what's really important is, of course, they contain that at CU, because keep in mind, when you're talking about thousands and tens of thousands of students, even a 2% hospitalization rate means a number of students in the hospital. But more importantly, is it being contained within the dorms, or is it spread to the larger community, not even just the associate professors, the maintenance staff, the faculty, but also the community as a whole, because many students work in the community, in retail and restaurants. And it's so important that if you're getting any symptoms, that you simply take advantage of this free, quick, and easy testing. And I know that the vast majority of students are doing the right thing. In fact, Dr. Piccioni is going to highlight some of the great success stories across the state with students doing the right thing and the numbers bearing that out. But those students who have continued to attend large groups or parties and really have put everybody at risk because of their actions. In Colorado, we've lost close to 2,000 people. And just to remember, when you're partying, you're not just partying with your friends. In effect, you're partying with your aunts, your uncles, your neighbors, your grandparents, everybody that you come in contact with, that they might be in contact with, is really doing the same thing and exposing themselves through you. So, I want everybody to think about, if your aunt or uncle or parent or grandparent lived in the area, could get this virus, would that party be worth it? So let's act responsibly. I know we have it in us. There'll be a time for partying, a time for the normal college experience. This semester is not it. We're also, of course, celebrating students doing the right thing. When students get tested, if you have any symptoms, just a sniffle, because it often manifests as minor symptoms, 18 to 21-year-olds, by getting tested, you're doing your part. When you collaborate with public health and contact tracing, you're doing your part. You're a hero. You're saving lives. You're doing the right thing. You'll always be able to look back on this pandemic throughout your lives and say, I was there and I did the right thing and I saved lives. We need to wear masks, observe social distancing. I know it's tempting to not want to do these things, but this is how science shows, and as students in higher education, you appreciate the importance of science, this is the demonstrated way that we turn the tide on these outbreaks. So the students who are navigating this tough moment, who are rising to the occasion, who are doing the right thing, I want to say thank you. And for those who aren't, there's still time to make a course correction and show that you can be the hero that I know you are. It's also important, we've heard, various fears that people have, not only students, people who are undocumented, who have sensitive jobs. You're worried about getting tested because you're worried information will be shared or you could lose your privacy. That is simply not true. On the contrary, when you're tested, you're part of the solution. You're doing your part. In fact, ignoring symptoms and not getting tested is what threatens to create even larger site-based closures, getting rid of your ability to make responsible choices, and could be an enormous setback in addition to costing lives. By getting tested, you're stepping up to take care of yourself and the community. So if you live in Boulder, especially in the university community around, take advantage of the free, quick, easy testing, Stasio Fields, the walk-up site. Here in Adams County, Federal Heights, Waterworld, Pepsi Center in Denver, Aurora Sports Center in Aurora, Citadel Mall in Colorado Springs, Pueblo County Fairgrounds in Pueblo, and Mesa County Fairgrounds in Grand Junction. In addition, there are dozens of other smaller scale community testing sites across the state. To find one near you, go to covid19.colorado.gov. The ones that I mentioned are large, quick, fast, easy, in and out, 15 minutes, drive through, walk through. You get your results texted to you within a day or two. Here in Adams County, we're actually right next to, we're doing this press conference not too far from Waterworld. You don't need an appointment, you don't need an ID. I got tested there last month. Today we tested over 11,000 people, and I encourage anybody who has a sniffle, a cold, a fever, get tested. If somebody coughed on you a week ago, if you were exposed to somebody who was sick a week ago, you can also get tested to see if you have the virus. Remember, a week after exposure, it won't show up a day or two or three after exposure, a week after exposure. Earlier today, we visited Mountain View Elementary School right here in Adams County, Adams 12 School District. I got to see some of the great work Adams 12 is doing around learning pods, really from the very start of the school year in late August. While everybody wasn't back at all their schools, they offered the opportunity for parents to be back with learning pods. And that's just so important for parents and kids for no reason. For kids, not access at home, needed parents, single parents who both work. Adams 12 really worked with them to make sure that while they didn't fully resume in classroom instruction, the schools were back for those who needed them. And now all of their elementary schools in Adams 12, all the way K through 5th grade, are coming back this coming week. And we really wish them well as they join the many other school districts in the state where classes have safely resumed over the last few weeks. And to parents who are wondering, there's obviously no right choice, no wrong choice for you to make. There are parents who are not yet comfortable comfortable sending their kids back to school. But for those who are, the mask wearing, the social distancing, the protocols that these schools have developed have really done an exemplary job making cohorts that are separate, meaning if your kid's in 3rd grade and there's an outbreak in 5th grade, the protocols would avoid your kid being exposed. The 5th grade would simply go into quarantine for a period of 2 weeks, but the 3rd grade shouldn't have to. And of course, when there are school-wide outbreaks, then they do convert to online for a period of 2 weeks. As we announced earlier this summer, the state is providing every school district with medical-grade masks for staff who work with students. I'm pleased that just this last week we hit over 1 million medical masks distributed to our schools. In fact, we're now at 1.12 million masks. That's part of our broader effort to provide schools with the resources they need to serve families in a safe way. For Adams, Boulder, and Broomfield counties, we've supplied 185,150 masks over the past 7 weeks. For the districts that aren't fully back yet, they're generally stockpiling those masks for when they do go back, and then they will be providing them. We also visited northern Colorado, Adams County, and Boulder County today. It's really exciting to see businesses build back and bounce back better than ever. Betsy Markey's here from OEDIT. We'll talk more about the state work supporting the business, the growth of our local businesses. We'll also be meeting with city councilors and county commissioners. And I want to take a moment to highlight a few of the many partners in this area in northern Colorado that are doing great work. Jeff Zayak, Boulder County's Public Health Director, Jason Volling, Broomfield's Public Health Director, who joined me at Mountain View Elementary School. Louisville City Councilman Kyle Brown, who also is a key part of our COVID response team around testing at the state for his day job. And I want to thank our Adams County Commissioners, Emma Pinter, Eva Henry, Chaz Tedesco, Steve Odorizio, and Mary Hodge. They were very critical in getting the Water World testing site up and running, as well as City Manager, County Manager Ray Gonzalez. So I want to thank them for have the opportunity to get tests in a free, quick, and easy way. As you know, our Lieutenant Governor represented much of this area in the state legislature. She did hard work across the state around accessible health care, a partner in this unprecedented epidemic where she's been working virtually and joining us in a safe way where she can. And I'm just so pleased that she's here with us in person today, and I want to welcome Lieutenant Governor Diane Primavera.
Well, thank you, Governor. I'm pleased to be here today, and thank you, Front Range Community College, for hosting us. As you mentioned, Governor, nearby, Broomfield County is a place that's really near and dear to my heart. There helped me win my first election to the Colorado House of Representatives. And I actually knocked on so many doors that I wore holes in the soles of my shoes trying to win the election, and I did. As the Governor mentioned, he had a productive morning today in Broomfield, Adams, and Boulder counties. I'm going to touch a little bit upon the few visits that he made to nonprofits in the area that have received critical resources from our Colorado Relief Fund. I had hoped to be there, conflict in my schedule. Shortly after the pandemic hit, we created the Colorado Relief Fund to help provide urgent funding to nonprofits that were seeing a surge in demand for their services. At the precise time, their own funding streams were drying up. From both individual Coloradoans as well as private sector companies, and support from philanthropic partners like Mile High United Way. So far, has distributed more than $19 million to nearly every single county in our state. More than $6 million has been distributed to nonprofits serving Boulder, Adams, and Broomfield counties. And these small charities and community-based organizations are making a real difference in the lives of struggling Coloradoans. And today the Gov got to see that firsthand. In Longmont, he visited the In Between, which received a $25,000 grant to help provide supportive housing options to diverse homeless families. He also visited the in Longmont, which received $20,000 in relief funds to help provide services for survivors of domestic violence. Tragically, levels of domestic violence have risen sharply since the pandemic began, a direct result of increasing levels of depression, stress, and substance use. Nonprofits like the Safe Shelter are providing exactly that, a safe refuge for survivors who have nowhere else to turn. In Lafayette, he visited the Sister Carmen Community Center Food Bank, which received $50,000 total in rounds 1 and 4 from the Relief Fund to provide support to families in East Boulder County, including assistance with rent and utility bills. Like many food banks, Sister Carmen experienced a surge in demand when the pandemic hit, and these critical funds helped them meet that demand. Sister Carmen is the only comprehensive provider of basic assistance in Louisville, Lafayette, Superior, and Erie. He also visited the True Community Care, a Colorado-licensed Medicare and Medicaid certified nonprofit health center serving Boulder, Broomfield, Adams, Jefferson, Denver, and Weld counties. True Community Care received over $18,000 to purchase PPE equipment for their staff in order to help them keep their doors open and continue providing healthcare services. These visits were a testament to the resilient and generous Colorado spirit. So many Coloradoans over these past 6 months to meet these challenging times and help support each other. Nonprofits that are meeting the increased demand, individuals who are giving what they can, and corporations and philanthropy that are providing generous donations. We're all grateful for these efforts. In particular, I want to briefly single out the aerospace industry for their generosity and partnership. Colorado is #1 in the nation for private aerospace jobs per capita, with the second largest aerospace economy. And just over a quarter of our aerospace industry is located right here in Boulder, Broomfield, and Adams counties, fueling thousands of good-paying jobs and millions of dollars in direct economic output. This industry has stepped up in a big way during the pandemic, both in their philanthropic commitments and in the way they've retooled supply chains and adapted existing technologies to help us fight the virus and limit its spread. Our aerospace partners have actively worked to ensure compliance with public health orders while continuing to carry out their essential functions, including critical support to our military and service members. They repurposed their manufacturing facilities to produce massive quantities of PPE, including masks, gowns, and face shields. They've also developed innovative new technologies designed to support our response, including thermal imaging meant to detect elevated temperatures. They've reassigned their supply chains assets to help move equipment across the country. And last, but certainly not least, they've donated significant financial support to our state's COVID-19 Relief Fund, including $860,000 during the May 14th Air Parade alone. We truly couldn't ask for better industry partners. During good times, we're grateful for what they add to our economy, and during these challenging times, we're grateful for their service and their support. The aerospace industry will continue to play a key part in our state's economy, including our recovery from the pandemic, and our administration is committed to nurturing this key sector in the years to come. And lastly, I want to mention that later today, the governor and I will be meeting with members of our disability community to identify ways that we can better support our most vulnerable Coloradans. As we've been saying since March, congregate residential care facilities have experienced high levels of COVID-19 outbreaks and, unfortunately, deaths. The rates of infection in these congregate settings has decreased thanks to the work of the strike force headed by the Colorado Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing and our Department of Public Health and Environment, along with the cooperation of most facilities. Most services available in nursing facilities and other congregate settings are also available in the community, and we've not seen high COVID-19 spread in the home care system. So I look forward to the dialogue with the people who know the system and options best. If there are safe ways to help people who are interested in transitioning from congregate settings to the community, we certainly want to identify those options and make sure that the residents in the facilities are aware of options that they might have to leave. Before I hand it back to the governor, I just want to give my deepest thanks to the nonprofit organizations on the ground, not just the ones that he visited this morning, but the ones in every nook and cranny throughout our state that are helping support their communities through this crisis. We cannot fight this battle alone. It takes a village, and I'm sure he was uplifted to see that spirit on full display earlier today in Boulder, Broomfield, and Adams counties. I know it exists in other communities across the state as well, so thank you to the workers, volunteers, and contributors who make these services possible for our people.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. We also have with us the head of our economic response on the COVID crisis. Really, in the early days, Betsy Markey spearheaded a group of over 200 business people that lent their time, their effort, really representing all different sectors, putting recommendations in place for how Colorado could lead in the recovery. Many of those have already been implemented that we had the authority to. The legislature moved forward with a number. Betsy is here to really give an update on the economic piece of this crisis, which really Colorado is well positioned on, but really thanks to the hard work of so many Coloradans across the state. Betsy?
Thank you very much, Governor, and thank you again to Front Range Community College. Our North Metro Small Business Development Center has been housed here since 1988, so we really appreciate that continued partnership with all of you. I just want to touch on a couple of the small business programs we have available at the state level to help our small businesses not only recover during this pandemic, but to thrive in the future as well. First one I want to mention is our enterprise loan program, and that is a tax credit program aimed at communities that are in rural and urban distressed areas of the state. We have invested here in Adams County in a number of breweries and businesses, and most notably recently Fingoal, which is a fintech company here in Adams County, and that company was able to invest over $500,000 into their business because of the tax credit. Our advanced industry program is very popular in northern Colorado, and this is a program that supports our entrepreneurial businesses. We know that a lot of these businesses need that early stage capital to get up and going and to be able to leverage a small amount of state money to get some private sector funding. We have companies in this area such as AMP Robotics, Special Aerospace Services, which is a women-owned aerospace company in Boulder. Meaty Foods, S Health Scholars have all gotten their start with advanced industry grants from the state of Colorado. Our Opportunity Zone program in Colorado it's a federal relief from capital gains for investment, again, in urban, distressed, and rural communities. We've had some good successes with that program throughout Colorado. JAG Logistics recently expanded into an area right by DIA in Adams County. And then also, we're excited about Avalon in Adams County, which is a master planned community with both homes and commercial space available that will be developed very soon using the Opportunity Zone program. And of course, the arts is critically important in Colorado, and our Creative Industries program at OEDIT gets some funding from National Endowment of the Arts, and we got CARES Act funding that was able to be used here in Adams County and Boulder County to support our artists and venues who are really needing that support during this pandemic. And our film office works with our budding entrepreneurial filmmakers that are graduating out of colleges and universities in Colorado to get them their first start. We worked recently with Front Range Community College on a documentary called about gender identity. Also worked with Exposure Labs in Boulder for these young filmmakers to create a film called The Social Dilemma, which premiered at the Sundance Film Festival and is now streaming on Netflix. In addition, our tourism office works closely with destinations around the state to make sure that we are highlighting the really unique assets, tourism assets around the state of Colorado. We provide marketing matching grants and have provided those grants to the I-70 Corridor Regional Economic Advancement Partnership, the Brighton Chamber of Commerce, the Town of Lyons, just to name a few. Then, of course, we work hard to bring new jobs to the state of Colorado. Later today, the governor will be going to see AGC Biologics, which we're very excited about. They are moving into the former AstraZeneca facility, 300,000-foot facility in Boulder. It will be creating 280 new manufacturing jobs in Colorado, but it's not only the jobs they will create, but it's all the other supply chain jobs that will come as a result of this company moving into Boulder. And then, finally, I want to mention these are challenging times, and we were so happy this year to be able to work with the legislature to create some very interesting public-private funds to support loans and grants to support our small businesses. One is the Energize Colorado Gap Fund. The first round of applications closed last week. We'll have a second round in October. And that is providing, with CARES Act funding, both loans and grants to small business recovery. But I will let Representative Byrd talk a little bit more about that program as well. So we know that Colorado's economy continues to gain momentum even during the pandemic, but we also know that economic growth rests on a strong foundation of responsible public health. Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy. And now State Representative Shannon Byrd represents this area, a fierce education advocate, and worked with Adams 12. And I know a lot of folks might not know this, but she's also not just an attorney, but also holds a master's in finance and business administration. So thank you, Representative Byrd. It's great to join you in your district.
Well, thank you, Governor Polis, and thank you also to Front Range Community College for hosting us today. Just sort of piggybacking on some of the comments from Director Markey, we in the legislature were so excited to do what we could to make sure that all of Colorado's small businesses have resources that they need during these challenging times. So we know that the federal government put forward the PPP program, which was very helpful for many businesses, but we also know that there were a lot of businesses that, for whatever reason, if they didn't have banking relationships set up in time, weren't able to take advantage of the PPP program. So, we talk about our economy and how our state has seen challenging budgeting times, but I want to call the public's attention to the fact that our state has riches in smart people. And we had wonderful people in the private sector, the banking community, the credit union community, coming together to find creative ways that we could serve the needs of small businesses that might not have been able to take advantage of PPP. And to that end, as Director Markey just mentioned, we were able to create a small business grant fund. So again, grants being dollars that small businesses can use and don't need to pay back. And for other businesses where maybe a smaller grant might not be enough help, we created a small business low interest loan fund. So below market rates of interest loans to help small businesses keep their doors open, help us ride through these tough economic times. It just bears repeating that in Colorado, the small business sector employs 40% of Colorado's workforce. So making sure that our small businesses stay strong, they can keep their doors open, they keep people employed, and that keeps families and workers strong. And that I know will be a top priority of all of ours going into this next legislative session, keeping our economy, being laser focused on this economy, keeping everybody back, getting them back to where they need to be. So I think that's the sum of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative Byrd. And it's a varied state in higher education. There's things that are working, things that aren't. Dr. Piccioni's here to give us an update on higher education and COVID in Colorado.
Great, thank you, Governor. And I do bring greetings from the Chancellor of the Community College System, Joe Garcia, and also, again, thanks to President Andy Dorsey from the Front Range Community College System as well. Front Range Community College is the largest community college in Colorado, serves about 27,000 students who are taking courses for credit. Half of those students, roughly half, are first-generation students, and so the first in their family to go to college. And so we thank you for the work that you do to help them succeed. About nearly 5,000 degrees and certificates are awarded annually, and this is the #2 military-friendly school of large community colleges, so we're excited about that. They average about 17 students per class, so this is a great place if you are leaving high school and you want to come to college to get your start at a community college. The community college here partners with the state and addresses the shortages in specific areas of industry, and to that end, community colleges do not offer bachelor's degree, but Front Range does offer 2 bachelor's degrees. One is in, boy, this is a good one, I don't even know what it is, geospatial science. I think that's GPS systems, which is great. By the way, that degree, Bachelor's of Applied Science, It has the most immediate and highest return on investment of any of the degrees in the state. So if you want that immediate return on your investment, get a bachelor's in applied science. The other bachelor's they offer is in nursing, and as we know, the state has had a nursing shortage for a number of years, and so you can get a nursing degree here. Front Range is one of the top community colleges in the country for student outcomes when they transfer to a four-year institution, and so we're proud of that. And lastly, I do want to say a few things about the COVID response. We have some great successes. Front Range, Fort Lewis College down in Durango has 0 positive cases this week, and all of the cases that they have had have been resolved. The community college system has only had 5 positive cases this past week, some campus exposures, but 5 positive cases. Most of our campuses have single digits, although there are some that unfortunately have had huge outbreaks. I want to say a word to the athletes, because we do see a lot of outbreaks for athletes. And I was a college athlete when I went to college 100 years ago. And the colleges, athletes, you already have discipline. And so we're asking you to be even more disciplined when it comes to congregating and having these large off-campus parties. Also fraternities and sororities, we're asking you. This is not the time to have huge parties at your sororities and your fraternities and these off-campus house parties. The only way that we're going to contain and prevent these kinds of outbreaks is to have the discipline to follow the protocols and especially to avoid these large, massive parties. As the governor said, who are you bringing to the party? Imagine going to a party and bringing your grandmother and bringing your auntie and bringing your nieces and nephews and children. That's who you expose when you do this. And so we're really asking you to be disciplined for the sake of the community and for the sake of your families. The testing is free, easy, and quick. And new testing also in Alamosa this weekend. We're very excited about that at Adams State University, so please get tested so that we can keep this contained. The last thing I want to say about Adams County is Adams County uses funds from their cannabis resources, and then it's matched by the state through the Colorado Opportunity Scholarship Initiative. Last year gave away $1 million to students who are first-generation underserved minority students and middle-income students. And I attended that night where they gave away the dollars, and it was a very emotional time to see these first-generation students give away scholarships so that students can come right here to Front Range and to the other four-year institutions in the state. So keep up the good work, Adams County and Front Range Community College. We support you.
Thank you, Angie. It's really great to see across the state the COVID recovery, the steps to keep people healthy. I was in eastern Colorado last week, southern Colorado, Pueblo the week before, Adams, Boulder, Broomfield today. It's really an incredible effort. The for-profit sector, the nonprofit sector, the schools. I'm just so grateful for every Coloradan who's wearing a mask to keep yourself safe and everyone safe, avoiding large gatherings, washing your hands regularly. We're all in this together, and we're all going to weather this storm together. So with that, we'll open it up for questions.
I guess the question is, what if they don't? And we've got a significant portion of cases in Colorado that are coming from students at CU Boulder, and the college won't answer questions about how close they're leaning towards, shutting things down for in-person classes. Are you prepared to take action if they won't? And again, I wanted to read what happens if they can't get a lid on it from your perspective?
Well, it's really critical that they do, and they work with the city of Boulder and the county of Boulder to do that. I know that the college students are up to it. They're responsible young men and women. I don't think they want to be showing up by all the community college students across the state, where there's only 6 that have it across the entire community college system. And I know that the Buffs are up to it. So they're going to do their best. It would not be constructive for them to be sent away. That would be very dangerous. If a group that has a 16% positivity, that was a positivity rate out of the test, if they were dispersed across the state and country, that would set off many other outbreaks. It's very important to handle it in the dorms, in the off-campus housing, with responsible students, quarantining, going online for 2 weeks, getting tested. The playbook's out there. We know how it's done. We know that CU students are responsible, and they're going to do the right thing.
Hello, Governor. I'm Jesus Carrasquel from Noticias Univisión. Governor, in Spanish, hemos visto el aumento de casos positivos de coronavirus en la Universidad de Colorado en Boulder. ¿Cuál será la estrategia del gobierno regional, del gobierno del estado de Colorado, para eliminar esta cantidad de fiestas de fraternidades, todo este aumento de casos?
Durante todo el estado, la rata de casos positivos es 2,5–3%. En la Universidad Colorado en Boulder es más que 16%. Hay mucha gente allá que en estado debían asistir a fiestas y ellos necesitan tener mucho más cuidado, como todo la otra gente del estado. Donde no se importa dónde vive en el estado, es importante usar tapabocas, no pasar tiempo con más que 10 personas, no tener fiestas grandes, y ahora los estudiantes de CU necesitan cambiar sus acciones. How many community college students approximately across the state, Angie?
200, almost 100,000?
So I just want to highlight that, about 100,000 community college students in 5 cases. So we know that that can be done. And to those who say, well, that's not residential, keep in mind some of the worst outbreaks at CU are also non-residential, and that there are residential institutions like Fort Lewis that had 0 cases the last 2 weeks. So they're doing it too. So Buffs, I know you can do it. I mean, I know you can do it. It's being done. In fact, it's being done here in our state. Thank you.